What do you understand by the word gender equality? Okay, gender equality refers to the absence of discrimination on the basis of a person's sex the basis of the person's sex in authority, opportunity, allocation of resources or benefits for men and women in culture. Okay, so mainly what it's trying to say is that there should be equality. There should be no discrimination based on either sex, either it's in terms of authority or opportunities. For example, if let's say you're trying to apply for a job and the people responsible to shortlist candidates for that particular post, they should be considered when we're trying to define gender equality. In this case, we are saying that if that post requires someone with certain qualifications, and we have a man or a woman who have the same qualifications, they should be considered because those people, they have equal qualifications. So it doesn't matter that gender equality means they should be treated equally because those people, they have the same qualifications despite that one is male and the other one is female. So it doesn't matter if it's either it's opportunities or allocation of resources, or maybe as a parent you're trying to share out maybe resources to your kids, or maybe you're trying to share out things that you've bought your kids. You're supposed to share them equally irrespective of their sex. That's what gender equality is all about. It's about having equal opportunities without any forms of discrimination. What about gender equity? What do you understand by the word gender equity?
There is a difference in distribution. It determines according to gender difference.
Okay, thank you for trying. But gender equity refers to the process of being fair to men and women, equal access to rights and privileges. Equity leads to equality. Mainly what they're trying to say is that you're trying to be fair depending on the circumstances. Because equality is like, if you have 100%, that means 50-50. That means you're trying to be equal. But if you say fair and if you say equity, you're trying to be fair. That means there might be some circumstances that may lead for you not to reach a certain extent, but the fact that you want to be fair enough so that the other gender is not discriminated. So you try at least to raise the bar so that at least it's able to meet the needs of that particular gender. So it is gender equity that leads to equality. The moment you're trying to be fair enough when you're handling your issues, either it's in terms of employment opportunities, or maybe it's about allocation of resources, you're trying to be fair. In that case, you're trying to reach the bar of being equal. That's how equality and equity, they work hand in, because one leads to the other. Gender equity leads to gender equality. What about gender awareness? How do you understand this term, gender awareness? First of all, you're supposed to understand what you understand by the term gender. If you understand the term gender, then it will be very easy for you to define the term gender awareness. Okay, so gender awareness is the ability to be able to understand that there are socially determined differences between male and women, and that these influence the access to and control of resources. the ability to understand that there are differences. There are socially determined differences between male and female. So gender awareness is more of being able to understand. Could we are living in a society whereby there are socially determined differences between male and female in terms of either job opportunities or maybe allocation of resources. So the fact that you're just aware, that the fact that you're able to understand, that means that's one way, or that's the definition of gender awareness, their ability to understand that there are socially determined differences in our communities and how we can be able to handle those differences so that there is no gender discrimination. What about gender sensitivity? To be sensitive. What is gender sensitivity? So it's more of the ability to perceive, being able to perceive gender differences and issues and to incorporate these into strategies and actions. It's more of the opposite of gender blindness. If you're sensitive, that means when you're handling each and every issue, you'll be able to make sure that you accommodate the different differences that exist in our communities. If you're sensitive, that means, for example, if you're one of the HRs in a certain company, so you're recruiting people, you not just recruit maybe anyhow, but you'll be able to you'll be gender sensitive. That yes, at this post we need 4 people. So when you're gender sensitive, that means you're going to recruit 2 females and 2 males. The ability to perceive gender differences and issues and to incorporate these into strategies and actions. Because if you're not sensitive, that means you can neither employ maybe all of them are going to be females or all of them are going to be males. But if you are sensitive, that means you're going to say, let us include gender equality in this. And at the moment you're talking about gender equality, also being fair to both participants. So you can see how these teams, they work hand in collaboration to each other. What about gender analysis? Gender analysis. This identifies the inequalities that arise from the different roles of men and women and analyzes the consequences of these inequalities for their lives, health, and well-being. So gender analysis is more of analyzing the identities or the inequalities that arise from the different roles of males. They are able to analyze what are some of the inequalities that exist in the different roles. You can even mention an example of a certain role. Then when you analyze, that means you're going deep, trying to understand that role much better and how that role maybe people are being discriminated, or maybe people are being treated fairly or equally. So gender analysis is more of identifying the inequalities that arise from the different roles of men and women, and analyze the consequences, like what are some of the consequences that arise or that are there as people practice their different roles in the society. Then we have another term, gender mainstreaming. Gender mainstreaming. What do you understand by this word? Mainstreaming.
Gender mainstreaming.
Okay, this is like the process of ensuring that women and men's concerns and experience are integral or are incorporated as different as we're trying to design or implement, monitor, evaluate all the registration policies and programs. So as people sit down in different offices trying to come up with different policies, they're trying to mainstream, they're trying to incorporate the concerns of men, the concerns of women regarding to their roles and how they are constructed in their communities. So when they are being considered as different policies are being designed, are being implemented, are being monitored, that's what gender mainstreaming is all about. It's about those officials being able to consider the different roles as they are implementing the different policies that affect people in the countries or in the whole country or maybe the world. So in the gender mainstreaming, you're trying to ensure that women and men concerns, experiences are integral to the designs, so that as these policies are being implemented or they're being designed, they're able to reach the needs of the different sexes in relation to their roles in the society. Any questions?
On gender mainstreaming, I didn't get it.
Okay, I'm saying gender mainstreaming is a process used to ensure that women's and men's concerns and experiences are integral to design, implementation, monitoring, and evaluation of all legislation, policies, and programs. So I was trying to give an example that we have different policies, or we have different offices that come up with different policies that influence or affect us as individuals. So when these policies are being designed, when these policies are being implemented, monitored, in the course of all these stages, they have to be aware, or they have to incorporate the different concerns and experiences of men and women, so that they are incorporated, so that when those skills or when those policies come out to be implemented, they are able to meet the different concerns, the different experiences that men and women face in their different societies. So in fact, these terms, they are interrelated. There's just a slight difference depending on their context. That's why first of all we had to look at these different terms, so that as we go along the course, we're no longer going to be defining gender mainstream, gender equality, gender equity. No, we'll just be mentioning these terms as we go along the course. That's why we had to first of all look at the different terms that we're going to be using in the course of the semester, so that when these terms come along as we explain, you're able to relate, or you're able to understand the meaning of those terms. We have another term, gender stereotype. What does this term mean, or how do you understand this word, gender stereotype? Gender stereotype.
The act of not being fair to male or female.
The act of not being fair to one. Okay, these preconceived ideas, some of the ideas that we have, the ideas that we already have, preconceived ideas whereby males and females are arbitrarily assigned characteristics and roles determined by and limited by their gender. Can you mention some of these gender stereotypes that are being practiced in our societies?
Mostly to married women, those who maybe do not go to school, their husbands does not allow them maybe to go away, to have their own money. Because the people, if they can go there, maybe they will start doing other things, for getting married.
So gender stereotyping can limit the development and the natural talents and the abilities of boys and girls. As you have, a very good example is what you've just said. In a family setting, you find out that some women may not be allowed to go out and exercise their skills and abilities, whereby maybe find employment opportunities where they can be skilled. For example, you find that some of the ladies, they are very good journalists, they are very good into engineering, they are very good teachers, but because they are being stereotyped, you find out that they are being suppressed in the sense that they are not being able to develop their natural talents or abilities of boys or skills of boys and girls, women and men, in terms of their educational professional experience and other life opportunities. So stereotypes about women result from and are a cause of deeply ingrained attitudes, values, norms and prejudices against women. They are used to justify and maintain the historical relations of power of men over women, as well as their sexist attitudes that hold back the advancement of women. So some of these stereotypes, they are the ones, but they're the ones that lead to maybe you feel yourself being very small, like being a woman, I cannot become whatever you want, or you dream about being professions maybe that are deemed the society considered these professions. So this type of career is for men, so they make women not to advance. But at least nowadays, this stereotype is being, it's not like the way it used to be back then. You see now women upcoming managers in the corporate world. So at least though a lot is being done, but there's more again to be done, so that at least we get rid of this gender stereotype. Then we have gender empowerment. How do you understand this term, gender empowerment?
Is enforcing powers that enforcing rules concerning gender.
Can you break down that? Enforcing rules that what?
Concerning gender.
Can you give an example?
For example, on gender stereotyping, women are not allowed to work. Then the government or other people came to say that men and women are the same. They can also work. They can also bring something. And we have to create some rules that can scare me, stop their wives going.
Okay, so gender empowerment is more of empowering the different sexes, either if it's male or female. Women demand equality with men in matters of education, employment, inheritance, marriage, politics, and the field of religion. So let's say, for example, if it's in the field of politics, you give that particular gender, either it's male or female, the required skills, knowledge, so that they are well equipped. They will be able to function in that position very well according to the position which they have been assigned. If either it's politics, either it's in the field of religion, either it's about education or inheritance, you equip them with the knowledge and the skills, you empower them. It's more about empowering them with the knowledge and the skills, how they can handle the differences. so that there is equality among men and women. What about gender bias? Gender bias, if you are being biased.
You're being discriminated.
You're being discriminated, That means one gender is being taken to be very superior than the other. Yeah, so it's a prejudice or a preference towards one gender over the other. It can be conscious or unconscious. Sometimes it is done unknowingly, sometimes it is done well. You know exactly what you're doing. So it is an equal treatment in the employment opportunities such as promotion, pay, benefits, and privileges. What about masculinity? Masculinity. What do you understand by this term? This refers to a set of attributes, behaviors, roles generally associated with boys and males. There are certain behaviors that are attributed or are aligned to males. Do you agree with that? There are certain behaviors. For example, if you are a woman and you become very aggressive, they say, you want to behave like a man. So it means being aggressive. It is one of the attributes that is related to being male. So that's what masculinity is all about. It's a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles generally associated with boys and males. Can you give an example of another attribute that when it's portrayed by female people be like, they're trying to behave like a man?
Like controlling ideas. Maybe an office, so they are having a meeting. Others, they still the women can give ideas that can help to run with administration.
So they tend to say, women cannot bring in constructive ideas that can help to improve the welfare of the organization, or maybe strategic. They cannot give out strategic ideas that can help the company. And in so doing, find out that's when now they cannot even put women in those managerial positions because they think they cannot be able to handle the position. So that masculinity is more of, as I've already said, a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles generally associated with boys and males. So it is made up of socially defined and biologically coded as factors. Both males and females can exhibit masculine traits and behaviors. So being aggressive, even females can portray that behavior. So those who exhibit both traits are considered to be androgynous. It is a set of characteristics that allow men to feel masculine. Masculinity varies depending on personality, family, and culture. Do you agree with that? How can you explain it? How can you explain this statement that masculinity varies depending on personality, family, and culture? How can you explain this statement? If someone says masculinity varies depending on personality, family, and culture, please explain. How would you defend yourself?
We start with the family. The way kids have been raised will determine the type of character they will portray. Maybe, for example, I'm growing in a family of boys who they were being reacting imitate the way boys react. So it will depend on where I'm coming from and how I've been raised. In other societies, they have laws that hinder women that they cannot speak out, maybe they cannot give ideas. So if a woman from that community or village has gone to another village, the way she will be reacting or doing her things will determine that how extent when she's coming from a certain village where there will be a man. And you cannot react or act as a man. She will react as women according to the way she was being raised.
Okay, thank you so much. Now let us look at femininity. This now is the opposite of masculinity. It is also called girlish, womanliness, or womanhood. Masculinity is also referred to as manhood. Femininity is also referred to as womanhood. So this is a set of attributes, behaviors, and roles generally associated with girls and women. It is made up of socially defined and biologically created factors. So being soft, the society or biologically, women are deemed to be very soft people in terms of how you speak, how you carry yourself. In most of aspects of life, women are deemed to be soft. So it's more, there are attributes which are associated with girls. Even the voice, women have a soft voice as compared to men, though in very rare cases we also have some men who are soft voice. Yeah, so can you be able to differentiate femininity and masculinity? Would you be able to differentiate these two terms, be able to give out examples, and be able to relate how these are affected in terms of one's cultural background, society, or maybe etc. So let us look at the experience of gender across different social groups, regions, and time periods. The experience of gender across different social groups, regions, and time periods. So, social construction of gender is a notion in feminism and sociology about the operation of gender and gender differences in societies. It is a society and it is society and culture that create gender roles. These roles are prescribed as ideal or appropriate behavior for a person of that specific sex. So as I've already said that different cultures have different behaviors, beliefs, and these roles or these norms are or have been constructed according to that particular culture. So you go in different cultures or you go in different settings, you find out that one thing that was deemed to be normal in certain culture might or not be deemed to be right in a certain culture. So they are just socially constructed. Gender is not a personal trait. It is an management feature of social situations as an outcome of social arrangements and a means of legitimating one of the most fundamental divisions of society. So gender is also one way of it's not a personal trait. You cannot say it's something personal. It's one of the burning issues in our societies. So historically, the term gender was adopted as a means of distinguishing between biological sex and socialized aspects of femininity and masculinity. So historically, the term gender was adopted as a means of distinguishing between biological sex and socialized aspects of femininity and masculinity. That's back then. It was used to describe or to differentiate sex and masculinity and femininity. Gender was also considered to be achieved and stable when acquired in early childhood. Was considered to be achieved and stable when acquired in early childhood. So that's at least now you're able to relate how this gender is being related to early childhood education. It has been preconceived that gender is constructed when children are very young. So the way children are raised up would determine their perception on what gender is, what gender roles they're supposed to read themselves. For a very good example, you talked about a family setting whereby they are all boys. So in this case, let's say in a family setting where there are 3 boys or maybe 1 girl, that means that girl, the way how that girl is constructed socially would depend on how she has been brought up. For example, if the parents were able to buy toys equally, irrespective of one sex, that means that child will grow up having that type of perception, that I can also drive a car, because they've been raised up whereby if the parents bought cars, those cars were shared equally to the children. Everyone was able to use that toy. So it's more of how that child has been raised up when they're very young. That's why this gender has been incorporated in early childhood education, because it has been deemed that when this different role, this same gender or what has been introduced to children when they are very young, it determines their upbringing, how they perceive things. So the performance is the idea that gender is something inscribed in daily practices, learned and performed based on cultural norms of femininity and masculinity. This is according to Judith Butler, an American structural philosopher. The performance of gender varies according to context, time, space, social interaction. People do not have to be in mixed gender groups or in groups for the performance of gender to occur. So as I've already said, that it varies according to different contexts, and even time also has an influence on how we perceive things. For example, back then, as I've already said, that it was mostly men who were very busy in the professional world, but with time you see that even now women are becoming managers. They're very also busy in the professional world. That's why they're saying the performance of gender varies according to context, time, space, social interaction. A person who is socially, or who has a very good interaction with different type groups of people, that means that person is exposed. While you find that a certain person who maybe just confines themselves to a certain type of sex, for them to relate to another sex, it becomes a challenge, or maybe they become very uncomfortable for them to go in that type of setting and be able to express themselves very well. A very good example is what you just said about maybe in a meeting setting, whereby some women, you find that they are not able to speak out. Why? Because of maybe they don't have that very good social interaction skills in themselves. They have been brought up in such a way that they are considered, when you're in a group of men, you're not supposed to voice out your concerns, or you're just supposed to keep quiet and listen. So, yeah. In schools, gender-based harassment may be common. Girls are expected to conform to stereotypical gendered appearances. Likewise, in boys, both males and female students take part in policing gender boundaries through bullying. Male students frequently harass female students, while male students generally harass other male students. Is it true that male students frequently harass female students, while female students generally harass the other female students? Can you relate? Can you please explain more how can you relate to this, that male students frequently harass female students, while female students cannot harass a male student?
male and female were created different. Like female we have breasts, so it depends. Others maybe they have very big ones. So many boys they do childcare, like look at her, they look at her legs, they look at her breasts. Like she's a woman, she's not supposed to be here. They go and bear children.
So is it not possible for a male student to harass for a female student to harass a male student? Is it common or
No, it is not common.
why is it not common for a female student to harass a male student?
Maybe because girls they have good hearts.
They have good hearts.
That they cannot defeat men.
They cannot. Oh, so it's like it's inbuilt in them that they cannot defeat men. Okay, interesting. So boys may harass other boys in order to appear to be more superior. Boys may tease or ridicule girls on the basis of their appearance, as you have just said, to degrade the girls. They just want to make the girls feel small, and feel masculine power through sexist practices. Girls harass other girls through gossiping instead of approaching the other girls directly. So for the women, for the girls, it's about gossiping. They cannot approach a female lady because it's considered to be a masculine thing. So it's, if they want to harass a certain girl, they do it mostly through gossiping. When girls stand out in appearances and performance, others look at it as negatively. They don't want women to come out, speak out. Gender-based harassment serves to define and enforce gender boundaries of high school students. So, gender is a cultural construction which creates an environment where all adolescents' performance in high school is related to their life goals and expectations. So that's more on experience of gender across different social groups, religion, and time periods. So what I've just discussed are some of the experiences of gender across different social groups. Any questions or comments? It's being well understood.
Yes.
If I give out the questions, you'll be able to explain. Okay, so I think let us look at the challenges in gender roles in society. What are some of the challenges in gender roles in society in terms of family, religion, culture, the media, the popular culture, like films, advertisement, songs, law, and the state? What are some of the challenges?
Lack of resources and women time.
Lack of resources. Can you please explain what when you say lack of resources?
Gender equality. If they want to be practicing gender equality, they have to make sure that the resources are enough. Because female and male are different. Female have more needs than male. That means if it is an office, the toilets or maybe other resources that female needs, they must be there. So if they don't have those resources, it may be difficult for them to practice gender equality. And there will be a difference the way they will be distributing things to the male and female, or maybe the way will be distributed to the female and male. So that's
because so here we have low literacy levels, like the fact that one is less educated also affects how they perceive gender roles in society. Is it true?
Yes.
How does literacy levels affect gender roles in society?
The way the level of your education will determine the type of work or the type of position you can hold. So if you are not well educated, you are low literacy level. You cannot have the same position with the person who is on higher level. So that also determine it will negatively affect the
gender roles in society. Then you have lack of financial capacity. Lack of financial capacity. If you are financially equipped, or if you are financially empowered, you'll be able to carry out different businesses which you want. Despite that you are a woman, you can also be able to import cars. But you see now in our society, we have this business of cars being dominated by male. And if you reach out maybe to the females, they will tell you, I am not well financially. I cannot manage to have millions and be able to import cars from wheresoever these cars are coming from. So lack of financial capacity also makes, so that is one of the challenges that affect the gender roles that we're experiencing in our society. Then you have no access to microfinancing. No access to microfinancing. These are small loan opportunities which are able to empower people financially. Then you have dependence on husbands for financial capacity. Then you have low level skills among women. Then we have too much workload in the home for the woman. Is it true? Are women having a lot of workload in the family? How? Can you please explain?
Most of household chores are done by women. A woman can wake up in the morning, mop the house, feed the children, and help the husband to prepare for work. But the man can just wake up, go to bath, eat the bedroom. When he comes back, not do anything, just be waiting for the woman to cook.
Okay, fine. So, let's look at, in a family context, how the different gender roles are being challenged. An understanding of gender roles is evident at a young age and very important for their social development. Gender roles are influenced by the family as well as the media, environment, and society. A child's understanding of gender roles impacts how they socialize with their peers and form relationships. You are in agreement with that one, A child's understanding of gender roles impact how they socialize with their peers and form social relationships. You find out that children are very social at a very young age. When maybe that child is playing with, if it's a girl is playing with a boy, other parents will say, no, you're not supposed to play with boys. You're supposed to play with your fellow girls. So when that child is being brought up, it has that mentality that I'm a girl, I'm supposed to play around or hang around with my fellow girl. But if maybe you are able to accommodate that child, be able to socialize with other boys, or maybe irrespective of who this one is a boy or a girl, they're able to socialize. So that also affects how they're being brought up. Many children develop within a set of gender-specific social and behavioral norms embedded in their family structure. Natural play patterns, close relationships, and social school life. The gender roles made in childhood play a large part in shaping individual and relationships in later life. If you have been raised up in a family whereby you're only supposed to interact with girls, if you grow up, you also have that the same mentality. not very comfortable explaining yourself in groups where there are males. So parents encourage certain behaviors in children. Fathers may encourage paternal breadwinning, or for male children, they encourage them to be breadwinners. Girls generally do more of housework than boys, as we've already said. And the type of housework assigned to children largely depend on the gender. So it's like cooking is for the girls, the other tasks, maybe gardening, is for the boys. So family dynamics play a role on child's expectation. Now the media, in addition to parents and teachers' intentional efforts to shape gender roles, children also learn through mass media like TV, books, radio, magazines, newspaper, to which they are exposed daily. So for preschool children, choose books specifically written for them. How does media affect one's specific, or how does it affect one, or how does it affect gender roles in our society? Media, in terms of, for example, you're in early childhood education, they're very small kids, then the books which they have been exposed to, they share, they're able to differentiate, these roles are for males, these roles are for females. Or maybe there's some parents are able to differentiate, these books are mainly for girls, the ones which have the very beautiful, but the rough ones, they are considered, these books should only be read by boys. So you see how media also has an effect on how the children perceive these different roles. Even the TV, you have some TV programs which mainly they said these programs, they are for girls. These TV shows or cartoons, some cartoon networks or programs, these mainly are for boys. So you see how media also has an impact in preschool children. Then we have the region. Women struggle to attain decision-making power and influence. I've already talked about this. Females are likely to be more religious than males. Why? Why are females more religious than males?
Because they are mostly found in homes